My husband proposed a polyamorous relationship because he was already sleeping with a couple, but his parents do not care about the infidelity, only that he slept with a man. This is truly disturbing to me in every aspect, and I am receiving mixed opinions from the few people in real life I have spoken to, so I could really use the advice of complete strangers. I am 26 years old, and my husband is 27. We have been married for a little over a year and together for 4. We spent a lot of time before getting married talking about what we wanted from marriage, so I thought we were on the same page about all the important things. I love him very much. He is sweet, helpful, and generally my dream partner, at least until last week. Out of nowhere, one night he sat down and said he wanted to talk about something. I thought it would be something minor, like frustration about a bad day at work or something similar. Instead, he talked about how he found out that his best friend and his wife are polyamorous. He and his friend have been talking more about it, which is why he thinks he would like to try it and wanted to know what I thought. I instantly felt my stomach drop. We have always had a great sex life, and he never gave me any reason to think he was interested in anyone else. I told him I am not interested in a polyamorous relationship. I want to be monogamous with him for the rest of my life. If it had ended there, I think it wouldn't have gotten so bad, but then he asked me to sleep on it and do some research before deciding. I said no, that I already know how I feel about it. He asked if I would at least think about it, and for some reason, that struck a nerve. It was like an instant flash of repulsive anger. I stood up and told him I was too upset to keep talking and needed space, so I would sleep in the guest room that night and we could talk later. Since that night, I feel a huge sense of disgust every time I see him. He keeps trying to backtrack, but I know he was serious about wanting to be polyamorous. It is not so much that he brought it up, but the other 2 times he asked after I had already said I would never be comfortable with it. It is as if my feelings didn't matter to him. He thought he could convince me, and it makes me feel horrible. What else is he going to pressure me about if I say no? And if he already wants to sleep with someone else, how can I trust he won't do it behind my back? I'm still sleeping in the guest room and thinking about simply filing for divorce now. While it would be simpler to divide everything and go our separate ways, instead of waiting years until my heart is broken. He could go do whatever he wants, and I could find someone who just wants a good, solid, monogamous relationship with me. The idea is killing me, but I feel like it is going to hurt now regardless of what I do. Even though I still love him, I don't think I can unheard or unsee my husband asking me for an open relationship, and the thought of him touching me turns my stomach. He is annoyed and frustrated because I am punishing him, quote-unquote, for asking a question, but honestly, I don't know what he expected to happen. There is a part of me that thinks maybe divorcing is being dramatic, but also, the disgust is so strong that I don't have much hope of going back to where we were. Am I the asshole? Here are some comments from the post. One person said, "You are absolutely the asshole for how you are handling this, not necessarily for leaving. Did you post this to make people angry? Your partner brings something up in what he thinks is a safe space, and you shut him down before even knowing what he is talking about. Your post makes it clear you don't know what polyamory is. You refuse to learn anything more about it when he asks, and you refuse to even humor him and think about it for more than the 30 seconds it took you to get through the conversation. Then you proceed to punish him passive-aggressively and look for the exit immediately, while he frantically tries to resolve this. What happened to forgiveness, getting grace, or for better or for worse? How you should have handled this is to tell him gently but firmly that you were against anything other than monogamy. But because you love him, you would read a little more about the lifestyle and genuinely consider it. Then read an article or 2. And as soon as the next day, once you both had slept, tell him, look, I read X and Z about this as a favor to you, but I still feel tremendously uncomfortable. After thinking about it, I assure you I am never going to want anything other than monogamy. Give him the chance to say, okay, honey, thanks for considering it. I appreciate you taking it seriously. If he didn't or doesn't do that, then he is showing you a lot. You can't extrapolate from a silly conversation. Anyway, you are the asshole for not making a safe space for your husband and giving less than 0 grace. Here is my response to that comment. I know what polyamory is. I don't need to consider it to know that there is absolutely no condition under which I would ever feel comfortable having anything other than a mutually monogamous, romantic, and sexual relationship. I know what my boundaries are, and so does he. We talked about this kind of thing before we got married. There is nothing to forgive, really. If that is what he wants, I respect him less for trying to backpedal. It means he is fickle and inconsistent. He doesn't stand by what he says if there are consequences. I think part of the repulsion I feel is that, not only did he propose something he knows perfectly well goes against my fundamental values and then insisted when I said no, but he can't even stand by it afterward. It would be better if he had said, I would like to try this, but I hear you when you say you aren't interested at all. This isn't a deal breaker for me, so let's talk about that part instead of saying, it was just a question, it's not that important. Stop refusing to touch me because you are uncomfortable and need space to calm down. I don't like it. Edit 1. Wow, this got a lot of responses. I am reading them as best I can. I am going to follow the advice to take space for myself today. I don't think he is physically cheating on me, but better safe than sorry. I do think there is probably someone he is interested in, possibly his friend's wife or maybe even his friend. He has never expressed being bisexual, but that doesn't mean he isn't. I don't know them very well, so I can't speculate on their role in all this. I am going to be charitable and assume there are no machinations on their part and that he simply got this from his friend and pitched it. I want to make it clear that I am not ignoring him. We can talk about anything else going on, but I am not ready to continue this conversation with him, and he knows it. I want to be calm for that, and his behavior isn't really conducive to a sense of calm right now. Every time he brings it up, I feel a little more disgusted by him, but he seems bent on digging his heels in instead of letting things settle. That and not accepting the first no as an answer is a bigger problem than the request for polyamory for me. I think I am going to meet with a lawyer just to review my options. At this point, I don't have much faith that therapy will change how I feel about him now, but I would be willing to try a few sessions just to say we tried. I am going to propose it tonight and see what he says. Edit 2. He doesn't think therapy is necessary. He just wants to go back to how things were before he brought it up. I told him that isn't an option. You can't unbreak a bone. It has to heal. I asked him if he had someone in mind, and he said no. But he isn't a very good liar, and I don't believe him much. He says it was just an idea and there is no one and nothing has happened. But he also doesn't want to show me the messages between him and his friend so I can understand the content of the conversation they had. I am going to respect his choice, but it is enough to convince me that there is something he is hiding, even if it isn't an affair in progress, and that is a problem. I have an appointment with a lawyer in a few days. I am going to wait until after that to make a decision, and I am going to take a short trip alone to see my grandparents this weekend, to get some fresh air and perspective. I will try to update next week after all the results come back, and I have had a chance to review all the facts with a professional. Thanks for the support and kind advice. Update 1. Many people wanted an update, and I have made some tough decisions. I followed the thread's advice and got tested for sexually transmitted diseases. Fortunately, it came back clean. I suggested therapy, but my husband doesn't think it is necessary. I doubt it would change my feelings, so I am not going to insist. He is being overly protective with his phone after I asked to see a text conversation between him and his poly friend to understand the context of the situation. I wouldn't violate his privacy. But clearly, there is something he doesn't want me to see. And that is enough. I no longer care if there is already something going on or just the desire for there to be. The shady nature of his behavior tells me what I need to know. I have been tempted to contact his friends directly to get their version, but in the event that there is infidelity, I honestly would prefer not to burden myself with the details. I had a deep talk with my grandparents this weekend and spoke with a lawyer yesterday. As of now, I plan to move forward with the divorce. With no children and no joint property or debts, since we were waiting to buy a house until he finishes his medical residency, it should be easy to divide finances. The lease on our apartment is up in a couple of months anyway, so I plan to move out after breaking the news, and simply pay my share of the rent for the current place until it is time to renew. I am heartbroken, but I am convinced this is the best move. I no longer trust him. I am repulsed by his behavior since he asked, and I think it is best to cut my losses before getting in deeper. If he were willing to be transparent and do something to reestablish trust, it would be different, but that is not the case, and I don't want to put in effort that he isn't interested in putting in. I will be okay with time. So, yeah, not a happy ending. But I think it is in my best overall interest, and if he isn't happy with monogamy after 1 year of marriage, it is in his best interest too. Hopefully, we can separate quietly, and without much drama. Here are some more comments. Someone asked, "Are you serious? You divorced someone because he suggested you consider polyamory? Why not just spend a few minutes thinking about it and then confirm you don't feel comfortable and move on?" First, I don't need a few minutes to think about something I have known about myself since I was a teenager, watching the thousands of ways other teenagers wrecked their relationships. I am monogamous. I am not interested in sex outside of a committed monogamous relationship. And despite being exposed to many people in college with alternative relationship styles, even kinky lifestyles, and some with a taste for sleeping around regularly, I remain firmly monogamous. I know who I am, I know what polyamory is, and I know I don't want it. Second, it has been a few weeks, and I have had plenty of time to think about it since he constantly brings it up. I remain absolutely uninterested in pursuing anything other than committed monogamy. If someone asked me if I wanted to commit premeditated murder, I wouldn't need a few minutes to think about it to know the answer. You are allowed to simply know things about yourself. Another comment asked, "Am I the bad guy here? Your husband tried to have an honest conversation with you, and you basically attacked him for being honest. 1. You have no proof your husband violated the marriage's trust. 2. You haven't tried to understand what he needs. 3. Him not wanting therapy might be a direct response to how you have behaved. I don't think you were really committed to making this relationship work." My response: I haven't attacked my husband. I said I will not participate in polyamory. I haven't made comments about polyamory in general in our conversations, simply that it is a deal breaker. I asked for space to keep my calm, which he did not respect. I asked for context and clarification on what he and his friend discussed, which he has not provided. I asked him if he would be willing to go to therapy, and he said no. I have respected his privacy and strive not to accuse him of anything or react with anger. Honesty is appreciated, but all communication, including honest communication, has consequences. That he was honest in informing me of his desire to be poly is good. But the natural consequence is that he effectively announced we have a fundamental incompatibility as a couple. 1. My husband doesn't have to have cheated on me for me to decide to divorce. Not taking no for an answer and refusing to put in any effort to clarify or resolve the situation is reason enough to leave. The suspicion of infidelity is also reason enough to leave someone. It doesn't have to be proven. 2. I understand what he needs. I am simply not willing to provide it, and therefore the kindest thing is to break up so he can pursue his needs and I mine. 3. If that is his stance, that seems like an even more excellent reason for me to leave. He has no other solution than to pretend it never happened, and he doesn't like my proposal, so I don't see why I would put in effort he isn't putting in. Edit. Well, affair confirmed. Those who thought his poly friends were the ones involved were right. The wife contacted me to come clean and apologize because both were unaware that I didn't know until now. They thought we had a don't ask, don't tell situation, so it is not their fault. It has been going on for a few months. A colleague from residency needs a roommate, so I am moving in with her in 2 weeks. My dad and my uncle are coming to help and serve as my safe exit plan when I tell him it's over. The saddest part for me is that he has been a closeted bisexual this whole time. He could have told me at any point in the relationship, and I would have supported him or helped him get the support he needed. I hope he agrees to do this quietly and quickly, because I know his family is going to go crazy if they find out about the whole situation, and I don't want that for him, as much as I am hurting. I am going to focus on work, and my future roommate is going through a major breakup too, so I think we will be good for each other. Eventually, it is going to be okay. Update 2. I never thought I would say this, but it was confirmed today. He has been seeing a polyamorous couple whom I thought were just friends for a few months now. A few weeks ago, he asked to open our relationship to polyamory, and I said no. From there, things have gone downhill. I was already preparing to leave because his behavior crossed a line, and I knew in my heart there was something else, even if I didn't have proof. The wife of the couple called me to apologize and explain because he finally confessed to them that I didn't know. She wanted to make sure I knew now and said that they would have never gotten involved with him if they had known I wasn't on board. I don't blame them. He was lying to everyone. I didn't even know he was bisexual. I never saw this coming in the 4 years we have been together. We talked about monogamy and my strong feelings about it before we got married. He was totally in agreement. I thought we were genuinely happy. There aren't many people I can talk to about this, especially now that I know the whole story. His family is religious conservative and would probably disinherit him, and I don't want that. My parents and one of my grandparents know I am leaving him, but not the exact reasons. They support me with or without knowing, but I don't want to tell them the new information. I don't want to put him on blast in front of mutual friends. Nothing good will come of that. I feel so sad and empty right now. Leaving is for the best, and I am committed to it, especially now. But I wonder if I ever really knew him. The person I dated and married would never have done this to me. I am just glad it happened before we got even deeper into the marriage. I can't imagine going through this with children to protect. He doesn't know that I know yet. I am moving in with a coworker who needs a roommate, so I think I am going to let it continue like this until I leave and the lawsuit is filed. But I also feel sick about going home in a few minutes and looking at him, knowing. Edit. I think the trigger was that, after asking me to open our relationship and badgering me about it when I said no, I was getting too close to discovering the truth, so he ran to them for emotional support. The wife said she is done with him because of that, but her husband was still deciding what to do. He still hasn't said a word to me about it. The cowardice of it all is grotesque. Last night he apologized, quote-unquote, for his behavior, and brought me flowers, but he hasn't admitted he cheated on me. He is trying extremely hard to appear optimistic, attentive, and to fix things. It is because they dumped him. Now that they broke up with him, he is trying to win back my favor without admitting the really important part. At least he is making it easier for me to leave, I guess. I am so fed up with him. I would have fewer qualms about his family knowing about the cheating. I think his parents would be angry at him for cheating with a woman, but they would get over it. If they find out he is bisexual and involved in polyamory, they would probably simply cut him off and never speak to him again. One of his cousins got kicked out for being gay. It could also affect his job. I think he deserves consequences for cheating, but not for being bisexual. That is already too much. Update 3. A lot of people have been asking to know how things went after I told my future ex that I was filing for divorce. I finally have a minute to post after a very busy week. I ended up accelerating the timeline a bit, as his behavior was starting to become worrying. The call from the lovers coincided with my ex trying very hard to apologize and fix things, but without admitting cheating or anything else. A colleague was looking for a roommate, so I made plans to move in with her. I also informed my parents and some close friends of the situation. My lawyer advised me to speak with my ex before the papers were served, so I had planned to have the conversation right before moving out. This set up an awkward situation, where I was living with a cheating ex, who didn't know that I knew. The plan was originally to move out next weekend, but things took a bad turn this week. My ex started getting agitated because I wasn't responding to his attempts to smooth things over, and that finally escalated to him trying to get into bed with me against my wishes on Thursday. I was able to get emergency leave from work, and mostly move out while my ex was at work on Friday. My parents drove down and helped, and then stayed to be nearby when my ex got home. My lawyer filed the papers on Friday. He didn't take it well. I told him I knew about the cheating and was filing for divorce. I also told him I wanted to do this quietly, that I know his bisexuality puts him in a dangerous situation with his family, and that it would be better if we kept the story that he cheated on me. He could contact me through my lawyer for any information. He screamed, broke down crying, said he refused to accept the divorce and that I should give him a chance to fix things. My dad came in and made sure he didn't try to stop me from leaving, and we left. I called my in-laws on the way and told them I was divorcing him for cheating on me, and that I appreciated them welcoming me into their family and wished them the best, but that I probably wouldn't be in touch again. His parents were shocked, but reacted with much more grace than I expected. I blocked my ex on everything except email because I can't deal with him. My parents had gotten an Airbnb, so I stayed with them and basically fell apart. At this point, I'm already moved out. That part of my life is over. My ex is apparently suicidal, according to a mutual friend. I hope he gets help because his behavior in the last few weeks has been really strange, so I wonder if he isn't experiencing some mental health episode. It doesn't change the fact that I am done. I am not okay, but I will be. I am going to focus on work and taking care of myself for a while. This will probably be my last update because I want to look toward the future. Thanks to those who offered support and kind advice. I really appreciate it. Update 4. People have been asking how I am, and I thought I would post on my own profile instead of spreading it out. I am discovering that writing about it helps. My ex overdosed. I didn't know because he hid it very well, but he had started using cocaine. We aren't sure if it was an accident or a suicide attempt. My theory is a mix of both. They called me first because I was still his emergency contact, but I handed things over to his parents. Everything is very surreal. I don't regret leaving, and some things I am discovering reinforce that, but I still loved him, and this feels like a kick in the gut. I don't think I ever really knew him, or at least he never let me know his true version. I don't know if I could have done anything differently. It feels like with everything he was involved in, something like this was going to happen eventually. It still hurts. I hoped he would resolve his issues and find a more honest way to live, not this. I wish he had come clean at some point and we could have figured out what to do instead of hiding things until he was too deep in. I don't think he was inherently a bad person. There were many times he was kind, generous, and empathetic. I think his fear of coming out of the closet and the pressure he and his family placed on themselves to conform to a certain model simply damaged him in ways that drugs certainly didn't help. Otherwise, I am okay. Waking up in my new place was so profoundly comforting that I know I made the right decision. My roommate and I get along well. I am looking at the home stretch of residency. So I just have to maintain focus. My family and friends have been very supportive. With my ex passing away, the divorce proceedings have ended. His parents just want some of his things from the apartment, but I am going to take whatever is in his personal savings and put it into a college fund for his niece and nephew. He may have ended up being a bad husband, but I know he loved those kids and would have wanted them to have it. I won't be going to the funeral. It doesn't feel appropriate given the circumstances. I was settling into the idea of being an ex-wife, but being a widow instead is simply, I don't even know. I am going to see a counselor soon to untangle some of this. For now, I will keep busy. Edit. To whoever said it was atrocious that I am not going to the funeral. The odds of there being a scene at the funeral would have increased drastically if I had attended. No one needed that. Funerals are for the living, not the dead. The dead don't care, and will never even know if they had a funeral. His family deserved to grieve without having to deal with the discomfort of my presence. I deserve to grieve without the discomfort of being near them in light of everything. If your definition of atrocious is caring about the feelings of people who have to deal with the sudden death of their son under disturbing circumstances, sure, I guess. Right now, I maintain that the decision not to go was the right one.